Understanding load path in a structure for different kind of forces is essential to guess the behavior of the structure and also to understand the member and connection forces. So let's take what type of forces do we generally have in a structure. We have either vertical loads or the lateral loads. Vertical loads are mostly that you have from the dead load of the structure, the superimposed dead load of the structure, the live load of the structure, or a snow load, or any other vertical load that you could have possibly. Basically comes from usually the wind load of the building, the seismic load that could act upon the building, the earth pressure that is acting on the building, or any other lateral force which is possibility to have in the horizontal directions. Now we try to understand for a shear wall structure, which is basically why we call it a shear wall structure, because the prominently it is taking stability because of the shear walls that we are having. So now let's try and understand that how exactly what these type of load, vertical load and lateral loads, are being grounded for this particular system. So let's say the vertical load in this shear wall structure are basically being taken from the floor slab. So they get onto the slab first, and then they from the slabs they get onto the beams that they are having. Then from the beams they are being transferred to the columns, and then essentially from the columns these are being taken to the foundation. Similarly, the area or the tributary which is supported onto the walls are basically taken the loads to the walls, and then walls are grounding those force to the ground. This is how typically the load transfer is happening. If we talk about the lateral load now, which is basically slightly more complicated in this case, the since in this particular building the vertical load is basically taken by both beams, columns and walls, whereas the lateral load are mostly being taken by shear walls. Why so? Because the beam and column that we have in our case is actually pinned. These are actually non-moment resisting frames and are not able to take any moment because of the pinned behavior at the beam and column connection. So they are basically not taking any lateral load because of not possibility of having any moment at the connection that we are having. So the essentially the entire l- wind load or seismic load that is getting to the structure is basically being taken by these walls that we are having. So essentially what happens as the any lateral load, be it seismic or be it wind, gets to the structure with the help of the facade that you're having onto the building, it gets to the floor level, which is basically the floor diaphragm, and with the help of floor diaphragm, which is basically the slab unit, load goes into the supporting stabilizing unit, which is in our case, if we talk about in the x direction, which is in the horizontal direction, the stabilizing unit are these walls, these two walls that you are having, whereas in the other direction these are the two stabilizing units that you have. And if we try to understand how the load path is happening, what exactly is happening, let's say in this area, if you are having the this floor, which is let's say could be for similarly for multiple levels above, if the load is being applied on this particular entire area, the half of the load will be taken to the this particular slab, and half of the load will be taken with this slabs below. And as the load get to this particular slab, it will be with the help of the diaphragm, which is having much high stiffness in plane. The load will be transferred to the supporting walls in that particular case. Similarly, if you're talking about seismic force in this direction, it will be taken from this direction, it will be taken to the supporting walls that we are having. Now once you are clear in the load path, you will be able to have full clarity that what amount of load is going to what type of unit and what that particular element needs to be designed for. So having that understanding is much more important before even getting to the design part of it. So this was a small video on load path for shear wall structures. Like and subscribe for more. If you want me to make more such videos, just put it into the comment box.